He was asking me to talk about the Kardashians. I think he was trying to allude to, or he was trying to ask me why they had so much prestige. The reason why the Kardashians have so much prestige is because, believe it or not, they're a witch coven in Los Angeles. All right, they're probably the top witch coven in the United States as far as the entertainment industry is concerned.
Then we live in Hollywood, mystical bitches, making our own sisterhood. While society is falling, we are quietly reformed.
Patriot, a Super Bowl champion!
Boy, a lot of people doubted this quarterback, but when you have 12, you have to believe.
Brady's back! That's your quarterback!
And the Patriots have won their 6th Super Bowl title.
Bucks are the Super Bowl champs.
You're looking at the greatest right there.
All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I just did a video on Gisele Bündchen, basically a follow-up to the original video that I did, proving that once again, yes, she is an apprentice of the Baphomet. Well, so is her husband, Tom Brady. And I believe that this little sit-down that they had in the aftermath of his victory in Super Bowl 53 was meant to be a way for Tom Brady to deliver his message to the masses. That is that I embrace witchcraft, and that's the key to my success, and that will be the key to your success as well. It wasn't by happenstance that Tom Brady happened to sit down in the barber's chair, and the barber asked him about what it was that Tom Brady used as the main driving force for his success. And they were able to correlate that with Gisele Bündchen. Now, keep one thing in mind. As many of you brothers already know, Gillette recently came under fire for allowing itself to be used as a platform.
You know, I've learned a lot from my wife over the years. She's so about the power of intention, you know, and believing things that are really going to happen. And she always makes a little altar for me at the game because she just wills it so much.
Yeah, she's utilizing her quote-unquote white magic. She's a so-called good witch, or what they call a blue witch. Someone who believes that even though she's practicing witchcraft, that she's practicing a good form of witchcraft.
And so she put together a little altar for me that I could bring with pictures of my kids. And I have these little special stones and healing stones and protection stones. And she has me wear a necklace and take these drops she makes. And I say all these mantras. And I stopped questioning her a long time ago. I did. I just shut up and listened.
Brothers, please understand something. This has been going on in the entertainment industry and in the sports world for a very long time. It's just that now is the time for them to go public about it. There have been MK handler coaches and managers in the major sports since we've had the inception of the major sports here in America. You've had athletes who practice witchcraft.
About 4 years ago, we were playing the Seahawks, and she said, you better listen to me. This is your year, but this is all the things you're going to have to do to win. And I did all those things, and by God, you don't work. It was pretty good. And then in 2015, it was about early January, and she said, you know how much I love you? And I said, yeah. And she said, I just want to let you know this is not going to be your year.
You know what's interesting, brothers? This person, Tom Brady, is talking.
16 look like. And she said, 16 is going to be your year. So it was early January this year, and I said, babe, I asking, like, do we have a chance? And she said, yeah, but you're going to have to do a lot of work, and you're really going to have to listen to me.
Now, brothers, when you pay very close attention, the convention that Tom Brady's laying out is very similar to the oracle at Delphi. For those of you who are familiar, the oracle at Delphi is where certain men would go to receive divination from a prophetess who was a soothsayer for Apollo, aka Python. That's why we always associate the serpent with divination, because the snake is renowned for being affiliated with wisdom or knowledge. So therefore you approach the prophet or the prophetess of the serpent to receive your oracle. It's very similar, or at least what Tom Brady is describing is very similar to or reminds else fulfilling that role before Gisele Bündchen got there, and that he's been a believer in and an initiate into Luciferianism and various forms of witchcraft before he even met her. It's just that her job is to take him to an even higher level of understanding.
So, man, I listened to her. And right after the game, she said, see, I did a lot of work. You do your work, I do mine. She said, you're lucky you married a witch. I'm just a good witch.
So, brothers, you heard that? That was an admission from Tom Brady that his wife is a witch. So hopefully I won't have too many cats coming on in my comment section talking about, oh, you're taking it too far, bro. I don't know where you're seeing this stuff at. I'm seeing it because I know what I'm looking at, bro. It's not difficult for me to understand exactly what I'm looking at because I understand how that industry works. It's an admission from Tom Brady that he's married to a witch, what she calls a quote-unquote good witch. Okay, so now this was a very interesting magazine cover that I done a video about the Kardashians. They basically just bring in a lot of simple-minded black men and sap their spiritual energy for their own well-being and for their own popularity. So let's see what he has to say.
All right, let's get to it. Rashad McCants is in the building. Let's bring him onto the couch. We got some great stuff to talk about. He's got some great basketball takes.
And all these so-called black men that they get with, they always end up down in the dumps. That's how you know. See, but a lot of these so-called black men are not spiritual. They don't understand the power of the spirit that they were given. All right, everybody wants to suck your spirit dry, take that energy and convert it into something that they can use for themselves. The Kardashians on a much higher level because, like I said, they are a witch coven, allegedly.
I'm going to ask you about the Kardashians. You being polite. Chloe only dates weak men.
That's not what I said.
Yeah. But like you said, I got out, so I wasn't as affected as the others.
Right, you got out, but you said she's a good girl. See, this is the problem with a lot of time with the so-called black man. He's scared to speak the truth because he's worried about being demonized as a so-called misogynist or a woman hater or chauvinist, somebody who's bitter. All right, if it's the truth, it's the truth. And this is why, you know, they can set up things like witch covens, like the Kardashians, and allegedly, and they never get revealed because these guys are scared to talk about what they saw. I'm sure he's seen a lot of things. I'm sure he's seen a lot of chanting and seances and things of that nature, but he won't speak on it. He's probably like, well, if that's them, that's them. He's talking about he got out. Sound like he was in a cult. That's what people say when they get out of a cult. I got out of it. Like I've said repeatedly, Pan is the god of this society. All right, the so-called goat god. Pan, also known as Ptah Min. All right, Min, another name for Cush. Going back to the ancient time, the god of the erect phallus. He's the god of pedophilia. He's the god of witches. All right, so that's what they're dealing with. That's why you see these issues with Kanye West. The Kardashians are what are known as MK Ultra handlers. What that means is that they have the keys to his alter egos. All right, Kanye West, you know, as most people understand now, even basic people understand it, he they need the so-called black male because of his energy. All right, that's why when you see some of these so-called black males, they deal with them, and a lot of these black men are simple. They're silly. All right, the kind who come on the comments and talk about, oh, you know, everything is not that deep and everything. No, it's just that you're not that deep. You're not that into what's going on. All right, that's why you don't understand a lot of the things that's going on around you. All right, this is why the so-called black man can always be set up and be manipulated, because he doesn't understand the energy that's within him in regards to the spiritual energy and also just the physiological energy, like I touched on before, like the movie Get Out. They want to use the so-called black man's body because his organs are highly prized on the organ trafficking market. All right. As sex slaves, the blood of a so-called young child of color is of higher value when they sacrifice them to Baal. All right. Every so-called race does not have the same spiritual energy. That's not racism. It's just fact. That's how they view it. OK. So once again, this is an ancient representation of what's still going on today, which is the over accentuated backside. Here you see, like I was talking about before, the god Pan, the goat god. This is what's called riding the goat. All right. This is what's going to occur. Like I said, we're in a period right now of high level witchcraft culminating tomorrow in what's known as Beltane. That's why I say watch out for any major stories that may happen tomorrow. It may not, but a lot of times they bring out major stories on Beltane, May 1st. Right. Tonight, April 30th is known as Walpurgis Night, Walpurgis. This is the night of the high witches where they bring in a lot of stuff that you're going to find out about tomorrow. All right. This also goes into what I was stating about Aaron Hernandez. All right. He was a sacrifice. And also notice, like I said before, they're riding the goat. The goat is the god Pan. All right. He's highly venerated. Here's another one of them riding the goat. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is what's known as osculum inflamme. OSCULUMINFLAME. All right. This is why you have the twerking craze now. This is why they're pushing the so-called twerking craze. All right. In the witchcraft circles, they viewed the backside or the ass as the other face of Satan. They viewed the anus as the other mouth of Satan. When a witch would approach the god Pan, they would approach and they would kiss his backside. They would kiss his anus. All right. Because that they viewed that as his other face or his other mouth. It's called osculum inflamme. All right. This is old practice that goes back to the ancient world that's still being done today. That's why they're constantly pushing the veneration of the woman's backside. All right. Or the man's backside. That's why they have those trannies twerking out there in New Orleans. All right. And this is your boy Kevin Hart. In the breakdown that I have for him that YouTube won't let come up, I was showing you how an episode was about him getting to the highest degree, how he rode the goat. Okay, this is a still picture from the filming of that episode. It was season 5, episode 3. He goes back to his high school called Morning Star High School. All right, Morning Star, for those of you who know the scriptures, the Morning Star is another term for the mother goddess. All right, also known as Venus. All right, or the AKA Lucifer, the bright and the morning star. Lucifer can be a so-called male or female. Right, in the male form is known as Cush or Nimrod. In the female form, known as the mother goddess Venus, also known as Semiramis. All right, now Christ is also known as the morning star, but on the right hand side in propriety. But the goat or Pan, that's the man known in history as Cush. Okay, he was also known as the first pharaoh of Egypt, Pharaoh Menes, Menes. You can look it up. He was the first so-called pharaoh of Egypt. All right, that's who was referred to, for those of you brothers who read the scriptures in Daniel, the 5th chapter, when the angel wrote the message on the wall, where it said many tekel sepharsim, right? Meaning, your time is numbered, right? Or your days are numbered. Many means number. All right. Like the Pharaoh Menes, he was the great numberer. He was the person who brought the understanding of arithmetic to mankind. All right. He was also the man who brought astrology, astronomy, the sciences to mankind. That's why he was commemorated as Thoth, Thoth. He was the person who set up a lot of the rituals, the rituals that are still used in many of these so-called religions were set up by Cush, also known as Menes or Thoth. All right. He's known in Rome as Janus, Janus. All right. looking both ways. That's also in reference to Noah, the previous world and the new world. All right. So there's a lot of things that go into what's going on in this society. All right. So peace.
Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Ow! 1, 2, 1, 2, ha!